Hello and welcome back if you're new. Today we're going to be diving into something a little bit different called Bloom Buddy. This is a sandbox, creative, claymation style game, and it was actually developed by an indie company called Duck Reaction. I happened across them while on Reddit the other day, and I asked for permission to play this. They were super sweet, super welcoming. I would totally recommend that you guys join along, join their community, and follow as they further develop this game in the coming weeks, months, and years. So anyways, I'm going to dive into this. I'm going to show you guys how I got a hold of it. It's super easy to download. I've not gotten hacked yet, so I kind of trust it as much as I can. But anyways, here's a guide on how to do that. Give me 1 second. Alright, here's their itch page. So if you scroll down from here, I was not able to find a copy of Bloom Buddy in this save file, but I was able to click their link tree, and then that redirects you, and you're able to find the playtest for Bloom Buddy right here. And so that kind of does like an indirect link to a different itch page, which works just fine. And then here is the Bloom Buddy page. So if you want, you can do the big old download now button. You're also welcome to read along everything. They have wonderful demos. These are going to be much better than the demo I create, but I wanted to show you guys. Really, the possibilities are endless. These are super cool in the way that they allow for player autonomy. Here are some of the instructions on how to play. In-game, they also have really good guidance, and there's another secondary download button down at the very bottom, as well as a comment section. So if you do end up playing this, please leave them a comment. I'm sure it helps. And with that, leave me a comment. I would happily read it. Okay, so we're going to get back to this link tree. They also have their socials up here at the top. The Discord, it'll redirect you to just like a white screen, but at the very top with the URL, if you copy that and then paste it into Discord, that'll help you find their actual Discord channel. Alright, so that's how to download it if you want to play along with me or play it later on, but for right now, we're going to dive into my gameplay. Okay, we're back to the Bloom Buddy screen. So if we go to creative mode, and then if you do a new save, I have a few old ones just because I had to play around with this a little bit to get familiar with it, it'll put you into this screen right here. Controls feel pretty intuitive if you play games like The Sims. It's very similar to that sort of stuff. You don't use WASD. So if you press down your scroll wheel, it'll move you around sort of globally, and then your right click of the mouse will move you around centered around one location. So it kind of pivots you around just sort of the central point. You start with this little center box, which is 1 meter wide and high and square and everything else. And then you have this 8 meter square as well around that. So I have found with trial and error, honestly, that it's best to start big. On the left side here, this is where you find your shapes. I'm going to start with, I might start with the face of my little creature, which is going to be my cat. Don't tell her I'm making her, because if it's really ugly, it might hurt her feelings, but I figured it would be a good starting point. So we're going to size up, because like I said, I think it's way, way easier when you start big. You can always size it down. So I feel like it gets kind of muddy when you try to start maybe smaller and get bigger. Bigger to smaller, I think, is a little bit more intuitive, and it ends up turning out a bit better, I feel. So with this, when you click your sphere, if you click away, once you click it, this left click, this pulls up this menu right here. These look scary to start with, and if you're familiar with like Blender or any other like modeling software, this might be sort of similar to that. I've not messed with those though, and when I saw this, I thought, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to do. But these are sort of intuitive to the player, and I think that's honestly like a really big goal of theirs, is to make it intuitive. With the sphere, it's kind of difficult to use any of these because like you can't rotate enough for it to matter. At least before I have a design on it. But these are sort of your planes. So your red goes left to right, your green goes up and down, and then your blue goes forward and backward. And like I said, we can explain these more as we kind of progress. These are also the little blue and the green square are just your planes. And the screen actually kind of helps you out with showing you that, so that's pretty nice. I don't use those typically. I sit here with this little white center and I struggle with that endlessly, and then eventually I figure it out with the help of these arrows. And then if you click this top right section, the purple one will size you up. Oh, I always miss it. The purple one will size you up and down to a certain extent. So you can get pretty small, but eventually you're going to run out of space. So I would be thoughtful about that. The sphere, I've noticed, does a really good job of sizing up and down. Some of the other shapes do have a limitation though. Like with the, let's see, I only know to call this one the life raft. I have no idea what the name of the shape is. They come with a cube, a sphere, a cylinder, a cone, and the quote-unquote life raft. I'm sure they have a name for that. I'm not sure what it is. This one I have noticed is a little bit more challenging to size up and down. So this right now is as small as it gets, but that's okay because you're able to kind of size it with these. So that helps if you ever need to make anything like specific. You're also able to make sort of like a hollow cylinder. Not quite found a use for that one yet, but I'm sure if you're making like proper builds or houses, that'll come really in handy. So anyways, back to our sphere. This other section that will control that. You can extend them, make it more or less... That is new to me. Sorry, I've really not messed with every setting for every shape yet. I had like focused primarily on the cylinder. That was cool. Okay, that was new. We're gonna go back. You can Control Z to get back to where you were originally. There we go. You have on the right side, if you click this little square around the cube, that focuses you on one point. So whatever you're selected on, that'll focus you in on that, because sometimes it can get a little bit busy if you have a lot of shapes around. This one right here will duplicate your object, and so will your D key on your keyboard. All right, this is our sphere. I'm going to leave it blue for now. I feel like blue picks up the color tones the best and like the lighting. Once we're done, I'll switch it over to a black color, so it'll be more representative of my cat. But yeah, so here's my sphere to start with. They have different lighting. If you look at the top left corner, light comes from that direction, and then we have shadow coming from the bottom right, which is pretty interesting. All right, so this is going to be my sphere. I'm going to start, let's see, I might make it a tiny bit bigger. Yeah, I think it'll be good. And then I'm going to add a little cone. I'm going to make this be sort of the snout of my cat, and so I'm going to rotate with this red one. I've noticed that instead of following the circle around it, like, let's see, it creates that circle. Instead of following it around, it's way easier to go up and down directly with your mouse. I just think that, I don't know if it's intended to be that way, but I've noticed that's a little bit more helpful. So I'm going to try to use this pointy tip, I guess, and turn that into a snout. I might make it a little bit more squat, and I might make it a little bit more rounded. So if I use this bottom section, I'm able to make that joint a little bit more bulbous, I guess. And then we have our snout there. I'm also able to turn on the blend mode. So that sort of like homogenizes these different items. I will do it just slightly to start, and then I'll make it more so if I need to. You're also able to rotate. So I'm going to try to get it centered to where I'm at. Guess by doing, yeah, that should be good. All right, I use my little white sphere to guide it, and I'm going to size it down. And now I'm noticing that like I'm a little bit off center, so I can go back to the section, I can do my green one, and I can try to center it up a little bit more. Okay. She's a little bit, her head's a little big, that's all right. Okay, that looks kind of cat-like to me, right? That's a little snout right there. And then you have the bottom lips and everything will be underneath it. This is going to be very simple, so like don't expect very much starting off. But this, I think, will just be super fun to kind of play with. I wonder if I can... maybe not. We'll see how I like this once I get it on the actual little body. I just want to make sure that proportionally everything makes sense. Okay, and then my next step is going to be... I guess we can work on the nose. So I'm going to make this tiny little one. I'm going to switch over to my other segment. I'm going to size it down a little bit. I might honestly want it to be a little bit smaller. So to do that, I can pick these. Make sure everything's as small as it can be. Oh, it might be already actually. So we can mess with this joint section right here, and this will size down things a little bit further. And then I'm going to rotate it. So I'm going to use, I think, the red one. Yeah, okay. And I just drag my mouse down, and that'll rotate it a little bit. And then she's not lost. She's not lost. She's in the blob somewhere, but I'm able to bring her out. Okay, there we go. I'm going to turn this pink just so that it's a little bit easier to see. And see, that looks silly and stupid, but that's okay because you're able to bring it up and you can size it a little bit better to what you need. I'm going to change, make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to change how much it blurs so we have a bit more of a distinct nose section. And then I'm just going to kind of mess with where it lies so it feels a bit more accurate to a cat nose. Okay, I think that, see, we're not centered again, which is okay. We can kind of, I might have to rotate this a little bit out that way. There we go. That looks a little bit better. And then that means that I can just move my nose to be centered. That looks close enough. Cats aren't always perfect. I mean, they basically are, but visually it's okay if they have some quirks to them. And that looks a lot like a cat nose, I feel like. You have little divots and everything. So that'll be good. Okay. And then we're going to add some eyes. Eyes are honestly like the most challenging part for me. And so these are not always very intuitive, which is okay. I have been using the life raft shape. I need to figure out the name for that because that's not the right term for it. But I've been using this little shape and I have noticed that that helps the best when I'm like looking for something specific. But the sizing options can sometimes feel a bit quirky, which is okay. I'm gonna rotate this one so it's facing us. And then to make sure you're on the plane, I just kind of move it like that while you're above. And that way, we're at least able to figure out proportions that we need. So I'm gonna have to size that down quite a bit. But yeah, I reached out to the creators of this and I was like, hey, are you guys planning anything for like being able to add divots or like almost craters sort of? And so like to add the eye sort of indent or like the mouth or things like that. And they said that right now they're focusing more so probably on stickers, which does make sense because, all right, I think that's an okay location, which makes sense because they explain that like for a lot of new players, sometimes it's not going to feel very intuitive to mess with indents because, I mean, you can see right here, like even this sort of stuff can feel challenging. Even, I mean, the game is really great at explaining how to do things, but like it comes down to the player knowing how to design. So I appreciate that they had an explanation for that and that they understood like, okay, we can't add indents, but maybe it'll be better just to do stickers. Okay, so you see how like proportions and all that sort of stuff can get kind of wonky. I can actually control and click both those and it'll join them up into one save and like one movement. I feel like I'm leaning a bit towards one direction. I'm going to move that. And then we can do those. Okay. They're looking a little bit silly. That's all right. We can move this. I'm going to rotate that with my green section. And then I can rotate this one with green. So that's sort of going left and right. I might bring it out a little bit further. I might bring this one out a bit further. Because I don't feel as though they're very even right now. And I got to figure out why. Okay, does that looks a bit better, I think. Does that look cat-like? Perhaps? Maybe? Okay, I'm gonna maybe bring this one down a tiny bit. There we go. And then, let's see, getting into colors, I do feel like I want to do some yellow eyes. So if you go on the left here, underneath this shape section, you're able to click colors. Right now it's just select colors. I'm not sure what their plan is with like a color wheel or anything like that, but I think honestly this is a really great selection and I have not felt like disappointed so far with not having a certain color I was looking for. So, okay, those are my eyes. I'm gonna make my face that of a black cat. Wonderful. And you're gonna have to do each section if you don't like unionize them. All right, does that look silly? Maybe, but that's okay, because who cares if it looks silly? It's clay. That's the whole fun of it. All right, I'm going to get my sphere. I'm gonna drag it out here, and then we're gonna see how small we can make this. See, like I said earlier, the spheres I feel like are the easiest to size differently. I'm going to get the black so we can make the pupil of the cat. I'm going to change my planes I'm in so it's a little bit easier. And then I go over there, I can go back down, and we're able to make it go up a little bit. All right, I'm going to change how well it blends with things. Probably same with these. I want to make sure these both are, yeah, they're both minimal settings, which is good. And then I'm going to send this one backwards. So it sort of blends. I'm going to move it to the right so it's centered in the eye. All right. It's a little bit silly, but that's the fun of it. Is it looking like a cat? Kind of. All right, I'm gonna Control C to copy, I Control V to paste, and then you're able just to move that one over. Oh, that's not too bad. That was actually kind of on the right plane, too. Okay, I'm gonna send it backwards a little bit. We're gonna mess with this just to perfect it. Bring it up and out. Out again. Does that look good? Might bring it down a tiny bit. Let's see. Okay, is that looking cat-like? A little bit, right? And I might size him up because I want to add whiskers. So I'm going to go back to that other section and he's gonna get big. See, and now you have way better quality, I feel like. And that means that when they're really large, you can kind of focus in on these like really minute details and make them proportionally what you're wanting, so everything's not as muddy as it was before when it was really tiny. All right, so with this little nose, I think I'm going to, can I flatten it? I don't think so. I'm going to send it backwards. Is that looking snout-like? Oh, look at the tiny little section poking through. It looks like the mouth almost. She's going, oop. Okay, I think we're gonna send this forward then a little bit. Oh yeah, that's perfect. All right, wonderful. Okay, now the eyes, because I cannot keep them like this. I'm going to control click both of those. That way they move in relation to each other. And I wonder, I'm gonna send them back, I think, to start. I don't want them to go too far though. And so I'm wondering, would it be better to send them down a little bit and out? And we're gonna look a little bit derpy, but that's okay. Oh, move the plane, that's all right. Okay, that does look a little bit silly, that's all right. I'm gonna control click both the iris and the pupil of this one as well. All right, we're gonna move them down and try to get them kind of similar to the other one. Does that look good? Maybe? Maybe? I'm gonna send this one backwards just so it's not standing out as much. Oh, but I don't know, then it loses its wonkiness. Loses kind of some of the charm. There, I think that's a good balance. And it's like, okay, with these, you're gonna have pupils that stand out because that's the nature of clay. It's like things are going to sit on top of each other, which I think actually adds a lot of character to these guys. I'm going to probably click the pupil, click the iris if I can, there we go. I'm going to see if I can rotate this. And this is sort of the hard part, is figuring out how exactly I want to do that so it all looks right. Because now, with this way, oh, let's see. Sorry, clicking every single button I possibly can, it seems like. Now they can kind of sit a bit more flat onto the face. That looks a bit better, I think. I'll do the same with this one. And we're going to move it back a little bit. Maybe that way as well. Alright! Yay, kitty! Okay, I'm gonna add some ears now. I'm gonna use the cone tool. That just feels the most intuitive for the cat ear shape. I'm going to move it forward. But see, again, like, if this is, planes are kind of really challenging with these, and that's okay, because you can always get back a hold of it and like move it wherever else you need to. So I'm going to go up, and then you can do that. See, awesome. And now that's a little bit better. If I'm trying to compare sizing, I can size it right next to the head without it being exactly on the head, which is nice. Okay, so I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm wondering, can I flatten this, or is it already, it looks like it's already the maximum, or like the smallest size it has possible, which is okay. I'm going to rotate this then. We'll use my red indicator. Oh, we won't use my red indicator. We'll use blue. Blue's perfect. Okay. My little white sphere will move this over here. And then I'm going to send it backwards, to the left a little bit, and down. And then I can use this to exact my rotation that I want on it, which is a little bit hard with these ears because you want them to be kind of quirky, but let's see, not looking too party hat-like. All right, I'm going to increase the blend as well once I get a little bit closer. Again, we're just sort of figuring out the planes right now. So I want them to be on top of the head, a little bit to the side. That looks kind of good. And now I'll just need to bring that one down. So I'm going to use my white sphere if I can get a hold of it. All right, there we go. Is that looking like a cat? Sorta, kinda? All right, I'm going to increase my blend through that setting just until I feel like it's a good mix. There we go. Or sorry, I was increasing my borders with that one, and this one will increase my blend. Okay, and then I'm going to change that one to black. It's an ear! Okay, that looks actually kind of good, and it has like the divot that you typically have on like the lower edge of a cat ear, which is awesome. All right, I'm gonna copy that one. I'm gonna paste it, and I'll move it over to the other side if I can. Oh. This white circle is always a challenge for me, not because of controls, but because I don't seem to have very precise aim, which is okay. All right, we're going to move that. And again, we're just gonna kind of try to perfect it in relation to everything else. So move it down. I want to rotate it just a tiny bit. And we'll have to probably send it backwards. Yeah, we're going to. It's kind of encroaching on the eye space. Send it down as well. All right, that looks like a kitty, doesn't it? That's awesome. Okay, she's a little bit derpy, but every cat is, and that's what's magical about them, honestly. All right, that's our cat for right now. And then I'm going to add, I might add a little bit of pink in the ear, is what I'm thinking. So I wonder, can I create another one of these, make it really tiny? There we go. Make it pink. And then I'm gonna blend it. So this has really heavy blending on it already. I'm going to switch over to my other controls, and then we're gonna bring this forward if we can. So I'm gonna rotate, there we go. Oh no, they're homogenizing. Okay, I did the blend too much, that's okay. I'll bring it down a lot, and I'm going to bring it forward. Kind of get it where I need it to go. Gonna try to rotate it if I can. If I can figure out what direction. There we go. And then send it backwards, I believe now. So just so it barely sits in there. And then I think now I can increase the blend. Oh yeah, that's wonderful. Okay. I might move it a tiny bit to the left. And I might move the direction, like the rotation, just a little bit too. All right, that's not bad, is it? I'm going to copy that, paste it over here. I'll drag it. Oh, if I know how to drag. And we're going to rotate this one. And actually the white sphere is really awesome with rotation because it's kind of more exact. You can do every direction you need to if you just know how to move your mouse. I don't always know how to move my mouse, so that's always the challenge for me. A kitty! Yay! Okay. Oh wait, I said I was gonna do whiskers and I totally almost forgot. So we're gonna move the cylinder over here. I'm going to see, this is always kind of the hard part for me, is figuring out how to make good whiskers. So I'm actually gonna size it down. And then, this is always challenging for me. We're gonna move it over here. And I'm gonna see if I can make it skinny and long. This might not work though, just because, yeah, it might not. That's okay. So we're gonna pivot. We're gonna do something else then. We're gonna make, I was trying to make kind of wispy whiskers, which was challenging because you can only make them so small because like you gotta think, if you have clay and you're rolling that out, it's only gonna get so small while also still being able to like sit on an object. So that does make sense physics-wise of clay. All right, we're gonna work on the body now. I think I'm gonna start with a cylinder and I'm going to, I guess, move over here. I got my cylinder. I'm going to size it up. We gotta try to make it proportional if we can. I'm also going to lengthen it and then switch my settings. I'm going to rotate it. This might be a little bit too big. I'm not too sure yet. Send it backwards. Are you too big? Perhaps a little bit. Which maybe means I can either size it down totally. That looks better, yeah. And then I'm going to size down this one. I don't want to go too extreme though. I don't know. This is always hard because you want to make them kind of cartoony, but there we go. I think that'll be a good one. And then there we go. Is she centered? No, of course not, because I can't center things. I think that's better. Yeah, that's better. I feel like the body is tilted, or the head is tilted. Did I do this all on a tilt? Maybe. That's okay though, because we can just kind of pivot that with these little controls here. That looks a bit better. All right. And then I'm going to make this one black, just so it suits it a bit better while we're designing it. And then I'm sort of debating if I want to add a sphere. Oh, if I can click the sphere. And we're going to keep it heavy blending. It's gonna be black. Actually, you know what? We're gonna make it white. I've decided. We're gonna do a little white chest. kind of like a tuxedo almost. My cat has maybe 15 individual white hairs on her chest, so I don't know if it's quite a patch in itself, but it's close enough. And we're going to move that over there. We're going to get planes right. There we go. And I'm going to really increase the blending. And there we go. That looks a bit more natural to a cat. It's not just like that flat surface. It's a bit more bulbous. And it's awesome. That's sort of the chest section of the cat. All right, and then I'm gonna do probably the same with its little butt. I'm going to do a sphere. I'm going to make it black this time. And then I'm going to make it blend really well. One second, give it a moment. I'm going to size it up. And then we're going to feed it sort of into the body. So that way it looks a bit more natural to the cat shape. No, it's not centered. Okay, 1 second. See, this is why it's really good to do like a 360 as you're building things. All right. I might make it a tiny bit bigger just because I feel like it's sort of... There we go. Like it was sort of cutting it off in a weird way. And then I might turn up the blend for it as well if I can. So... That looks good to me, I think. I think that'll be good. All right, and then I'm going to add perhaps little feet. So we're going to start with, again, cylinders. Like I said earlier, I feel like they really are like the best tool in this one. They really are, they can like do anything you want them to do for the most part. You can really mess with them quite well, so. All right, I'm going to remove how rotund it is. I'm gonna remove the blending just a little bit. I'm gonna make it black, and then, let's see. I'm going to lengthen these. I don't want them to be too long, but it's okay because I can always just feed them into the body. I feel like maybe it's a bit smaller. I want them to be a little bit skinnier. All right. And then this is what's super nice. This comes into handy when you're doing something at the bottom, is you can just move them like that. And then make sure that it's centered well. All right. Does that feed into the body? I don't know if it quite does yet. Now it does. Good. All right. And I'm going to copy that one, move over the other leg. Those are kind of silly. I'm going to now be able to copy both of the legs. If I can click, that's awesome. And then I can move both of them at the same time to the back. I don't really know where hind legs go on cats. And we're disregarding that they have joints. I don't really care at this point. Because who needs a cat with joints? Never heard of a double jointed cat. Alright, and then I'm going to do probably actually something similar to that. And I'm going to move it out here. Oh, if I can click the right thing. I stole your leg! Control C, V. Okay, I never pasted it. Okay, we're gonna make this one a little bit longer and taller and bigger. And then I think this will be a good tail. I'm wondering if I want coloration on the end of it or not. You know, like some cats have little white tip tails. Those are always really cute. Actually, might make this really small. There we go. In theory, that would be able to be like, I could do that forever. But see, it's a little bit too big for the whiskers. I might try it. It'll just look kind of silly, but that's all right. Okay, and I'm gonna rotate this one. If I can figure out which rotation I want to do. There we go. All right, and we're gonna try to move over there. Come on, let's go. Up. It's like pin the tail on the donkey almost. It's never exact. All right. Does that look like a cat? A little bit? That looks like my cat, honestly. All right, I'm going to maybe do a tiny little tip to the tail. I'm not too sure. Or maybe the feet. Yeah, let's do feet. Let's do little feet tips, like little mittens. And to do that, I might add, honestly, a little... Yeah, let's do like another cylinder. And I'm going to rotate this one like that. And we're gonna do white. And if I can, I'm gonna try to make it really small. Looks like a marshmallow almost. Okay, try to get it the right section. And then send it back. Oh, that looks like little mittens! Oh, that's so sweet. Okay, I'm gonna do that a couple more times. Send it to the other direction. Oh, that's so sweet. We're gonna send it backwards. And then I can copy that one and send it the other direction through the body. Oh my goodness. It's a little kitty cat. I almost kind of want her tail to be fluffier. And I can probably do that. Yeah, so I can mess with these. This is always difficult for me to get this ring the correct size. Okay. It's maybe not perfect. That's alright. Oh, she just looks sort of silly. Awesome. Well, that's my cat. All right. Well, I wanted to show you guys just sort of like what this can turn into. I'm sure for like really skilled builders and creators and sculptors and artists and anything of that sort, you guys can make really wonderful stuff through this. But this was honestly like the most fun I've had in a while with a game. You can really sit here for hours just making different things. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you find a use for this and you're able to kind of explore this game a little bit as they further develop it. They're going to hopefully be working on like world generation soon, and you'll be able to create characters. So in theory, I can make this little girl and she could be movable. If you make a little avatar sort of guy, you use this sculpture of like basically the skeleton and you build on top of that, and then they're able to move in the world. So I think this will be super fun. You can do scene design, but I'm really excited to see where this game goes. This was sort of just a really quick playthrough of it. I have the goal of diving into further indie dev games in the next few weeks, primarily ones that are still working on like demos or early stages of release, and sort of just giving them a chance. Like, I think that it's really hard to get into this world and not know what to do as a creator, and I think a lot of programmers and developers are sort of feeling the same way right now, and it makes sense just to try to play those games while I'm here and have the opportunity to. So please go play this. I will have the link in my description for the itch page. Join their Discord, chat with them. They've been really great so far to me. They've been really awesome and sweet. But yeah, here's the game. Here's me making a very questionable cat, but I think she's cute and she has her own charm. So thanks guys for joining me. Look forward to future episodes in the next few weeks of similar games and content. Bye-bye.